So our national savings and investment identity is the total private and what we call our public savings. And our public savings, we don't really have a lot of that in the United States, but some other governments have it. This is budget surpluses. And what is a budget surplus? That is when they get more taxes than they spend. Doesn't happen a lot, unfortunately. So our national savings and investment identity is going to be so we'll have it be our supply of financial capital on the left, and we have our demand for financial capital on the right. And again, when we're talking about capital here, we're talking about resources used for production, right? So that's also just a thing to kind of keep in mind as we're discussing. It's not just necessarily about, anyways. All right, so this is going to be our savings by all of our individuals, and then it's going to be plus what we're paying for imports minus what we're paying for exports. So that's our supply of financial capital. It's all of our savings by individuals and firms. And then it's whatever we've imported minus whatever we've exported. And on the other side of this equation is our private sector investment plus all of the government spending minus all of those taxes that we collect. So this is private sector investments this is government spending, and these are our taxes collected. And so if we are in a situation like the United States and our government spending is greater than our taxes, then because they literally don't have the money to spend, the government has to then borrow the money, right? So the government would be a demander of financial capital. Obviously, in the converse holds true, right? If T is greater than G, then they would then be a supplier of financial capital. So this connection between savings and investment to the trade balance explains why the balance of trade is often seen as a balance of payments, right? It's a fully comprehensive macroeconomic phenomenon that touches both the real sector in terms of trade and also the kind of imaginary sector in terms of the financial capital and the behind the scenes, how to get the resources to the right place at the right time with the right interest rate. If we were to just assume that we're in a trade deficit, then the national savings and investment identity can be rewritten as the trade deficit is equal to all of the domestic investment minus the private domestic saving minus the government or public savings. So stated another way, we can interpret this equation that in a trade deficit, the only way domestic investment can exceed domestic savings is if we have capital flowing into the country from abroad. All right, we'll stop there and do our Kahoot. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand why that equation balances. So let's say that's in balance, and then I buy a $1 piece of cheese from Mexico. How does that affect private sector investment, government spending, or tax collections?
So, if the trade deficit rises, that means that either domestic savings, public savings, or private savings, or sorry, either domestic savings has to go up, public savings has to go down, or private domestic savings has to go down.
Okay, so it's coming from my money. Okay, so that is all happens within one side of the equation. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We'll explore the implications of trade deficits on the rest of these, or the implications of the rest of these on trade deficits, first thing class on Friday, which we will have because we didn't have class on Monday. So we will have class on Friday. Good question.